I'm Samuel Miele,
I'm Scott Fishman,
and this is the Student of the 21st Century podcast.
where every single week we're going to talk about all the things that school didn't teach you.
Are you ready to graduate?
Tune in for a new episode every week.
We'll see you there. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Student of the 21st Century.
I'm Scott Fishman,
And I'm Samuel Miele.
and today we're going to talk to you about the importance of coffee.
How creative of a title is that?
I thought it was pretty good.
Who came up with that?
When I was writing that out today, you had the initial idea, but I rewrote it.
I will say the importance of coffee, there's an underlying meaning to that, and it's the importance of networking. Why is the coffee so, how do you say, important? It's the primary part to a relationship. Building one.
The favorite thing of people when you connect with them, let's go for coffee. It's always the first thing that people say.
They say your network is your net worth. What does that mean, Scott?
100%. It's all about who you know, not what you know. And I have this conversation all the time with Rebecca that it's really just how many people can we talk to and how much knowledge can we take from them to build our own knowledge. How many rooms can we get into? How many circles can we get into that know more than us?
Okay, so today we're going to get super in-depth about your first meeting. You just called, you mustered up the courage to call somebody and meet with them.
Or you DM'd on Instagram, my personal favorite.
Or you DM'd on Instagram, yes, which I can be accused of too, but it works.
100%
Not
it works.
a problem, but it's less of a close rate, for sure.
For sure.
Right? But today we're going to discuss, you just got a meeting with this prospect, with this potential client, and you're taking them to Starbucks. What do you do from the moment you walk in the door? How early do you walk in the door? What you text them prior, what you text them after, everything you say in between, how you act, what you do when you shake their hand. We're going to discuss all of that in today's episode. Scott, walk us through the importance of arriving early to a meeting.
Have to be.
How early?
I like to be 10 to 15 minutes. Personally, if I'm going somewhere, it depends where I'm going. If I'm going to somebody else's office, it's a little bit different than if I'm going and meeting them at a Starbucks.
Now, one of the important things I also want to make sure is when you arrive 15 minutes early, you're not just sitting there. You're texting them once you arrive. Scott, what do you think we say?
What do you want in your coffee?
What do you want in your coffee? And see, the importance is what do you want in your coffee compared to can I get you anything?
100%.
Because the nice person is going to say, no, don't worry about it. The demanding initiative person you are will say,
what do you want in your coffee?
what do you want in your coffee? Scott's never wrong.
My phone auto completes that at this point. When I say what do you, it puts in want in your coffee by itself.
Exactly. And you could even go a step further and say, what can I get you to drink? They might say coffee, or you forget about it and you don't even ask. When they arrive, there's a coffee waiting for them, black, and you've gotten them 3 packs of sugar, 3 packs of cream, 3 packs of milk, and a stir stick. Now, why is that crucial?
Oh, it's super important because it shows that you're taking the initiative to meet with this person and showing them how valuable their time is to you. Now, my personal favorite is when somebody does that to me and I get there and you're the exact same and I go, I don't drink coffee.
That's literally, yes. But then when somebody does that, you almost just drink it anyways.
Oh, for sure.
Because that initiative, you see, there's a important understanding that I think a lot of people overlook, and they could think, Scott, me and you are being stupid saying that you have to do this. 15 minutes early, just buying them a coffee, whether you text them or not, and giving them the option of cream, milk, and sugar shows that you have the initiative and you're an initiative type of personality in anything you do. How you buy a car is similar to how you would buy a house. What you say to somebody is behind their back is probably how you're going to act in front of them or how you're going to treat them. It's just no questions asked. That is it. It's as simple as that. And that's why these little things are crucial for important people that you get as prospects to show them you have the initiative in everything that you do.
And it sets the tone for the whole meeting. When you get there and they get there and their coffee is already sitting there waiting for them, the tone has already been set. It shows them that you're serious about what you do. If it's another industry professional, it shows them that you value them taking the time to do that and spend time with you, telling you about their business. If it's a client that you're looking to pick up from the real estate side of things to sell their house or a new buyer, it shows them that you value them coming to meet with you, them taking the time to actually have that conversation. And it just sets the tone for everything in that very first minute that they see you.
So everybody listening, show up 15 minutes early to your meeting. You can text them. You have two choices. You can text them, what can I get in your coffee? Or you don't even text them. Just say, I've arrived, comma, I'm sitting in the right corner. Not a problem. Save them that look. Let them know you came early. But the fact that you're there before they are, and the fact that you have a drink waiting for them without even asking them is absolutely crucial. Now, Scott, they walk in the door, you see them, you're sitting in the back of the restaurant, the back of the Starbucks, whatever it may be. Can you take us through what do you do when you see them?
Yeah, first thing you do is you stand up and you get their attention to show where you are, because you haven't met this person at this point. I'm anal enough, as I know you are as well, that like I've looked this person up on social media. I know who I'm meeting with at this point, but most people don't really know what they're walking into until they're walking into it. So when you get up and show that you're getting their attention, it shows them that, you're there, you're ready to go. And then they get to the table and their piping hot coffee is already there and you just get right into it.
Another big one is not being on your phone when they get there.
Yeah.
You don't want them to walk in and then see that you're on your phone. Now, am I being extra? Yes. I think that's very extra. I think you can be on your phone. It just shows, I don't know how to describe it. It just shows that level of professionalism that you're there to discuss, you're there to meet, you're there to talk. Now, one of the things that I don't want to skim over is what you just said is viewing them on social media, making sure you know what they look like, making sure you know what they're about so you can leverage that and discuss that in the topic. Compliments are crucial.
100%. And it's funny because it's so important to me when I meet with someone, I need to know everything about them and what they do as much as I possibly can beforehand, because I don't want to get there and just ask them the basic surface level questions. Like when we first got into the industries that we're in and we were meeting with other people, I didn't want to get somewhere and say, how do you sell a house? Like, that's not what I'm going for, because everybody's going to say the same thing. Well, I talked to my sphere of influence. That's it. It's the same answer across the board. You want to know, what are you doing on social media? Why are you posting with these hashtags on your Instagram? You want to know as much about this person's backstory as you possibly can. One, because it pumps the ego of this person to know that, like, wow, they're following me on social media. They see what I'm doing. And it's a lot of effort, as we know, to be doing these things on social media. And it also shows that you care, which, again, it goes back to pumping the ego, which is what you want to do. Everybody loves to talk about themselves. So you essentially want to know as much as you can so you can ask detailed questions about the nitty-gritty. The basic stuff, we can all Google it. But there's a reason you're meeting with this person. It's something that they've done, something you've seen they've done or posted or anything like that you took the time to message them or call them to say, hey, I want to meet with you.
You know what? Another thing that I love is when somebody walks into the restaurant and you get their attention, you stand up and you shake their hand and you look them in the eye and you say, hi, Samuel Miele, nice to meet you. And then you compliment them, or you quickly ask, so this is my number one line. I think I've said this in only one other podcast interview before. And I said, I always say, keep them busy, what you get up to. That's it. There's your conversation starter, because they're going to tell you what they did for the day. They're going to tell you what they did during the week. They're going to tell you something that just happened. And that'll open them up to conversation immediately.
100%.
It's not, so let's get down to business.
Yeah.
It's small talk. And so many people dish small talk, but small talk allows people to gain comfortability in situations where they may not be so comfortable.
As long as you, and we do this very well, are actively listening to what those answers are.
Yes.
And that's another crucial piece of the whole thing, is that if you go in with pre-written basic questions that you want the answers to, you're not really going to get anywhere, because if you're not actively listening and flowing that conversation and have the ability to adapt your questions and why you're there and what you're there for as you go, you're just going to be at the surface level the whole time.
And every time I ask somebody, so you keep them busy or what? Oh, yeah. And then they expand. They always expand.
And the answer is, oh yeah, swamped. Always. Everybody always says that they're busy, and then we'll have a story behind why they're busy.
Yep. And you listen to that story and then you ask them questions upon that. And you find a point in that conversation, that small talk, to lead in to your conversation. For example, okay, Scott, you're a prospect. I'm a videographer. I want to get your business.
Yep.
So, Scott, keeping busy?
Always.
So, what'd you get up to this weekend?
I went to this listing. I showed this house. I shot this video.
What I saw you were actually shooting some videos on social media. Do you enjoy it? Are you actively trying to do better at it?
I love it. I'm trying to build my brand through social media.
There you go.
Bingo.
Bingo. You've just got them talking about social media. You ask follow-up questions of social media. And by the way, that was actually completely on the spot. You ask questions and follow up about the topic that you want to discuss, find out some information from them,
Yep.
and then talk to them and ask them questions before. Don't just start by saying, this is what I want to do for you.
Right. But having known my background and had done the research on my socials and about me, you already knew that I was trying to build my brand with social media.
Exactly.
So you ask that right question to get your foot wedged in the door, to get the response that you want, to segue that conversation of where you want it to go.
Now, Scott, the meeting's over. It went great. What do you say to close off the meeting when maybe you've got to take off?
Well, I always say to people, the big thing for me that I always say to people is, thanks, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me, to meet with me. If it's a Friday afternoon, I say, I appreciate you taking the time right before the weekend. I know I'm sure you're going into a busy weekend, and it means a lot to me.
And that shows and makes a lasting impact. Now, another big one is after the meeting's over, after you've both gone home, I personally like to text somebody maybe 4 or 5 hours later and say, hey, Scott, just want to say thank you again so much for meeting me. It was a pleasure talking to you. And I look forward to staying in touch, or I trust we'll stay in touch. And that I trust is a nice way of saying, I'm going to text you again. I want your business. I want to get to know you. I do that all the time when I'm sending out quotes.
And it's a very self-serving text message to send, but at the same time, it's not seen that way, because it all comes back to pumping their ego of saying, thank you, I really appreciate your time and you spending the time talking to me.
And it's not that that's a bad thing.
Not at
People
all.
pump egos all the time to try to get somebody's interest. I think that's a level of communication and emotional intelligence that not a lot of people understand, but a lot of people know how to get somebody talking, how to get somebody more comfortable. And sometimes that means you do compliment. Sometimes that means you're just honest about what you say. And, you know, Scott, if I was meeting with you, I'd say, hey, Scott, I love your content. You just did like a living in Niagara video. Tell me about it. Like, did that take forever to do?
Right.
You know, stuff like that really opens people up to communication.
And it shows that you're following along with the things that I am doing. You already had an interest in my life and my journey before we were even talking, met, anything like that. And I'm the same. Every single person I meet, I send them a text. If it's an event in the evening, I'll text them next morning and say, hey, it was great seeing you last night. Even if I've met them before, great seeing you, great meeting you last night. I really appreciate it. We should get together for coffee sometime. I actually sent 4 of those saying we should get together for coffee sometime this morning.
Wow. Now, Scott, it's probably easy right now to come up with ways to reach out to people, muster up the strength, muster up the confidence to do it. It's almost like it's secondhand nature because you build that self-confidence. And I think, see, one of the questions that we have written down is, how do you muster up the courage to reach out to somebody? How do you even get to this point to make a lasting impact in person on this person? And the answer is there's a variety of ways. Scott, can you kind of divulge some of that information?
Yeah, it's funny because when I first got into real estate and networking was something that we really had to get into doing, I didn't know what the best way of doing it was. I had been very well networked my whole life, but it was what's the best way of doing this? And I've realized over the past 2 years that as much as it's scary to call someone or text someone or DM them on Instagram to say, hey, you want to meet for a coffee sometime? I'm yet to meet someone that doesn't want to.
It's true.
So as much as it's a very scary thing to do, it's very scary to send that message. You're like, hey, really love what you're doing with social media. Would love to meet to talk about it sometime. I'm new at this and I'm looking to grow. It's a super scary text message to send, but 9.9 times out of 10, the person on the other side is not going to say no. And they're actually never going to say no. If they don't want to, they just won't answer you.
Exactly. And that's the number one thing is I think a lot of people are fearful of what that text message may bring, from past circumstances in their life, from past realizations. One of the things that I think is absolutely crucial is making that impact over the DM, doing your research even before you message them.
Yep.
Hey, love your profile page, especially that living in Niagara video that you did.
Yep.
That's a perfect way to segue into and get a response.
Right. 100%. So let me ask you this then. When you were first getting into the video game and the media company, how many people were you messaging or calling on a daily basis to just get those meetings, to have a basic conversation?
I remember when I was in science class in grade 10 and I started this Instagram account called Super Edits, and I was trying to grow because I was editing Fortnite and Minecraft videos, video game videos.
Yeah.
And I remember trying to get portfolio pieces. I needed some work. But then I started getting a little bit busy because I was messaging roughly 30 to 40 people a day. And that's a realistic number. I could have said 100 and said that, but it's 20 to 30 to 40 people a day. And that is what's required of you to get at least one response back, because most of the time you're in those hidden requests, you're in those general DMs, you're not in that primary section. And even then, a lot of people have multiple messages that they have to answer. And if you don't provide value in that first message that comes up on their feed when they're looking through their DMs, that little preview, you're not going to get a response.
Right. 100%. 100%. Well, we have the famous saying within our group of 554. Talk to 5 people you know, 5 people you don't know, and 4 follow-up conversations every day. And that's our basic, what we go for every single day. 5 people we know, 5 people we don't know, and follow up with 4 people from the previous day, previous week, anything like that.
Yeah. And that's the best way to build those relationships, because once you do, you're not going to have a hard time getting business in the business that you're in, because people are always going to be curious and people are always going to want to know.
And learning and trying to grow your own business. So for example, we're going to an event in Dallas in 2 weeks from when we shot this. And I reached out to 5 people that I know within my circle this morning when we're shooting this and they were shooting this, and said, hey, are you going to be free when we're in Dallas in 2 weeks? Would love to have lunch. We're going for a real estate conference. But every single one of them answered me and said, yeah, let's do it. And these are people, 20,000 followers, 30,000 followers, 25,000 YouTube subscribers that love to talk about what they're doing.
And that's the number one thing. And then you can pick their brain and find interests, mutual interests, and learn from that. And if you can begin to seek relationships just to learn from them, you will be the wisest person in every room if you consistently learn to do that.
Right. And that's why the saying about being the 6th person at the table. You want to be at a table with 5 millionaires, you want to be that 6th person.
Exactly.
And that's what we strive for.
The 5 people you hang around, you're going to be the 6th, whether it's positive or negative.
Right. And that's why your network is your net worth.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the Student of the 21st Century show. I'm Samuel Miele.
I'm Scott Fishman.
And we'll see you in the next episode.